Jacob. So
this dude showing up with a freaking 10
There's
ton.
so much, and even if we had more, I don't think it.
oh my god.
Vaughn getting just does a burn.
No, that is that Vaughn?
I like this.
You also have gigantic hands.
In that car right now. We didn't fly all the ways here to watch you walk around in a sling.
Did you know Long Beach super soon? So you're gonna want to jump on it. You're gonna want to save some money on tickets. If you haven't bought tickets yet, well, man, what are you doing? You were probably waiting for this discount code. So jump on it right now. Use OZLB at checkout. Save yourself $5. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Outerzone, the official podcast of Formula Drift. My name is Jacob Gettins, and today I've got my brother on the mic, Mr. Jarod DeAnda. What's up, dude?
Everything, man. Looking forward to the 2025 season. We kick off our 22nd season ever of Formula Drift history. It bears repeating. What was a fad is now in everybody's living room across the globe. So I'm still, I just saw Jim Lau earlier, had an event. Saw him. He's doing a ton of podcasts talking about drifting. Ryan Sage is kind of quietly wearing his Anthony Bourdain shirt with the middle finger out, which was
so good.
An Easter egg that for those that just listen, give it a watch or just look at Instagram and you'll see his shirt. I was like, wow, Ryan, what a power move. What a power move. But I called him out on it. I was like, dude, what's up? Like Dana White of the motorsport world. He's like, is it? I said, yeah. And just sharing a little conversation of ours. And he says, I wore that. The other option was a bluey shirt. And I said, well, you chose the polar opposite. So he went either Bluey or Anthony Bourdain saying you're number one.
Yeah, it was one of those, like, he hops on camera. I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, what? I'm like, nothing. Just, you're good? Like, everything's good? And I did one of these. He's like, yeah, no, I'm set. Is there anything wrong? I'm like, nope, we're good. Record.
Yeah, I mean, it's his world. We're literally getting paid to be in it.
Yep. I'm not here to question the boss man. So it was a good episode. I was pretty happy with it. Anytime you start to get into like the minutia of all of it, he gets so excited, right? Like the human thesaurus comes out and he's like, okay, I had to cap him at 2 hours because we would have been there all night if not.
Yeah, and you bring it out of him. Obviously, you're inquisitive, and we all are in certain factors, right? We have, when you look at Formula Drift, you can be enamored by the cars. You can be enamored by the stars, the locations, the destinations, the experience, getting wicked drunk at the track. You have all your perspectives, and Ryan's he is dad. And he, I always joked when Jim and Ryan were around that they're my two dads, and Ryan cares to a fault to compromise. He started out, he's like, this is my least favorite part of the season. But at the end of the day, it's degrees of how much he cares 100%. But to say this is least favorite, I credit Jim and Ryan to this day, and I forever will, for the opportunity. If it goes away tomorrow, I still credit them for an amazing 21 going on 22 years. So shout out to Ryan Sage and Jim Lau for giving me the opportunity to even have this conversation with a grayer beard and more tattoos, and no regrets. Keep it moving.
Yeah. No regrets. We're not gonna go with that.
Not even a letter. Not even a letter. No.
All right.
No, that's my credo.
Not even one.
That's my credo. I do have no regrets tattooed on my arm, but that was a shout out. Got that at coincidentally where you just were this past weekend at LZ Fest at Englishtown.
Gotcha.
A buddy of ours, Rich Bible, who is part of the Drift Alliance cronies and the crew, he unfortunately committed suicide many moons ago, and he had that tattooed on his chest. So shout out to Richard Bible. That's what. And somebody talked smack and did that. I was at like a country concert and wasn't having it, and this one behind me, she's like, no regrets, huh? I was like, and you know me, like I'll talk to pretty much anybody. And this woman's like, no regrets. I said, yeah. And that was on my buddy's chest who committed suicide. How do you feel about that? And she's like, ugh. Yeah, that'll stop a conversation. That'll keep the burning going. So yeah, it seemed like you had a great time. E-Town looked packed. LZ.
Dude.
It was a Canadian affair. There was maple syrup everywhere. Poutine was a-pouring. It was absolutely TLO and fillets and Luke Fink. I mean, Americans not as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, it's one, just super cool to have that like opportunity. I made a post about it. Just, these are two drivers that I more or less grew up with. Like Josiah and I started at the same track around the same time. Like, I think I filmed back in the day one of the first Mantis kits he ever developed, like before it was even released and stuff like that. So it was like one of those moments where we were kind of hugging each other. I just looked down, I'm like, this is pretty wild, huh? He's like, dude. He's like, so that part was really neat. And it's kind of cool to start making those memories. I'm sure you kind of ran through them too. Maybe like Forsberg winning his first championship or Vaughn, where it was just like, you're just like, damn, like we're here, dude. Like 2 different paths, but like we're both here at the same spot. And it's just a really, really neat feeling. But yeah, the event was sick. I destroyed my voice. I didn't warm up. Like I just went right at it. And like day 1, I was already blown out. So I got to pace myself. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's a marathon, not a sprint. I get it, but it looked amazing. And that's what I really love about drifting right now is sometimes when drifters come up to myself, and maybe you're experiencing this, just with everything that's going on with you, is like, hey man, I met you here. I'm like, remind me, and no disrespect. And I love it. I always reference skateboarding when Bucky Lassik's a good friend of mine, Watch Your Toes, dropping names. But when Bucky was crushing it, even there's these newcomers that are coming in that you've just never heard of. And that's how I feel drifting is analogously, where you're getting these names. You're like, where's he from? What's he drive? Where'd he cut his teeth? Like, you're like, huh, it's movie type shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, where's that? Who? I mean, that's how it was for Nate Hamilton. Like, I remember seeing Nate Hamilton for the first time. I was like, who is this kid? Why? What? I was like, he was a shredder. And it's cool. So that's happening right now as we're having a conversation about aspirations and kids. And they're like, man, it's like, what's her name was on the podcast. She's like, you're on my list. I want to have an interview with you. And it's humility that goes a long way, that really feeds into the whole craft of us just elevating the drivers, the experience, Formula Drift overall. So as we embark on a new season, I'm excited to be alongside of you. SOPA, obviously, in Prospec, Sage in my ear, the judges, again, you and Ryan breaking down all of the new point gaining system, which I think once it's explained, and kind of like the seating brackets that went down last year and how that went down, it just takes kind of like, okay, show me. Okay, got it. And then it's bango.
Yeah, I mean, we made it through that first seating bracket in Long Beach, and I feel like the vast majority of people kind of caught on to what it was. And, the first round, it was always like long explanations, and then the explanations get shorter and shorter throughout the years. People catch on. I think it'll be the same thing this year with the seating bracket and with the point system as well. I'm really happy with both changes. The point system is really good, and the fact that they've incentivized seating both monetarily and with points, that's massive. And I feel like, we can kind of get right into it and clarify something from Sage's point, or from Sage's episode, is like, realistically, there's only going to be 1 or 2 people that actually get knocked out in seating the way that it is built right now. Like, it used to be, if you win, you're in. If you lose, you're out. Now, the idea is to fill the top 32. So if there's 34 drivers or 33 drivers, only 1 or 2 people are going to end up going home. And even with that, there's still opportunity for those people to go in if there's like a mechanical or somebody else can't fill that spot. So I think that will open up drivers to drive even more competitively. Whereas, that first round of seating, you could be a little bit more hesitant because you're like, okay, let's do a safe run, similar to like the first run in qualifying back in the day. Like, you do the safe run to begin with, and then the second run is when you'd let it all hang out. Now you can just jump into it because you're like, cool, I'm seated here. Basically 1 other person's got to go out and I'm good. So yeah, I'm super, super pumped on that. And we can pretty much dive right into seating bracket if you want.
Some would say send it.
Send it. Ooh, where have I heard that before?
This Canadian dude said it when he was on a snowmobile.
Yeah, it's
another
crazy.
Canadian for you.
Right? We're just invading.
Oh my gosh, I can't shake you. Ugh. It burns. I'm kidding.
Hopefully you can see it, but basically, let's jump right into the big one. Andy Haley more or less going to have that first run for free.
Hey.
The one that everybody's talking about, though, Daigo Saito, Jack Shanahan, right off the bat, man. Holy hell. Like, talk about, we're going to open the show, and it'll basically be like, okay, let's go into one of the most anticipated drivers of all time and one of the scariest drivers of all time. You decide which one.
Exactly. I was going to say, which one are you talking about here? They could swap. They could swap. Absolutely.
Right. And that's how we're going to kick off seating, basically. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I really don't. I think it'll be a great conversation of, does Daigo still have what it takes to compete in 2025? Because that's the big question to me. Dominant previously, is that still there? Does that driving pedigree stand up? And then Jack Shanahan in a car that's relatively untested, that's completely brand new. And, and he's in a country that he's now, top of the pops. Like,
yeah, saw
how
both
that
those
plays out.
guys. Saw both those guys earlier this year in Australia at the Keep It Read event with Jason Farron. Saw Luke Fink out there, and I would say that Daigo's been banging away in the shed, and he's got nothing but time and cars and shredding. And I think Shanahan, he needs to cool his nerves, and he might act like a big brute, but he's kind of like your boy right here, where he's a big bear, but that bear's got teeth and claws, but it's got a big heart. And again, do not mistake kindness for weakness. And if Jack can harness that energy, like I know he can, he could put it together. But I think you can't win a championship unless you do well at the first round. And as we always say, Long Beach is just such an unforgiving widowmaker of a track. And it just is unforgiving, and it'll bite you. Speaking of teeth.
Yeah, it bears repeating, to steal your phrase. What a terrible and fantastic way to start the season. Like, from the viewing perspective, it's incredible. From the driver perspective, it's like, cool, nice, polished, clean car. Everything's ready to go. We're going to line every single corner with walls that don't move. There's no forgiveness. And yet we still see these incredible runs where they're dragging bumper every single zone. And it's like, this is how we're starting the season. It's such a precedent. So, I'm pumped for it. I'm pumped for that battle.
Who's going to get it?
Really going to set the tone.
Who's going to get it?
I'm
What
going to give
what
it to
car is Daigo driving? Isn't he driving?
Jerry Yang build. So it'll be an 8.6. I believe it's still going to be a VR engine as well. It'll probably be very similar to what we saw Kazuya Taguchi in previously, and then Manoa in now. Maybe there's something different that's in it. We know Daigo likes his like big V8s and stuff. So, I don't think it's been confirmed what power plant that's in there yet, but I could see that happening. Either way, it's a Jerry Yang vehicle. Jerry Yang very quickly is becoming one of those teams, really, that everything they touch turns to gold, right? Like what they did with Nick Novak in a perfect event. Obviously, Kazuya Taguchi did quite well as well. Manoa getting in there did phenomenal. Now you're taking this legendary driver teaming up with a team that's just on a heater. It'll be really tough, but I don't know. I feel like Jack Shanahan and the Shanahan family in general do best when they're considered underdogs.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of the Irish spirit, right? Whatever's in the cork water. Right. And also, you have to think, Jerry, also Yang, it's been a pebble that has grown into a massive avalanche. Like you said, this isn't just overnight. So I don't like you said, American V8, I don't know why he wouldn't go VR, given that what Manoa can do and what Kazuya was. I mean, it seemed like he changed cars every year. And then Kazuya was like, all right, I'm out, which, everybody's got their reasoning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be tough, but it'll be exciting, and I'm pumped that that's the way we're gonna basically open the weekend is with that battle.
Yep.
So talk about peaking early, damn,
call it competition timeout, and we'll move on to our next battle. Battle would be Rudy Hansen and Federico Sharifo. Fetty's been struggling. He has such a positive outlook. I mean, he is like a human Italian golden retriever. He's always trying to just get the silver lining. Rudy Hansen, another one that just, doing pro spec, doing pro. Do we know the answer if he's doing double duty again, or is he just committing himself to pro? I don't
believe so. I think it's just committing to pro. With Shelly, his wonderful wife, coming into pro spec, I think that's enough to do. I believe he's going to end up spotting for her, or at least, he's going to be a part of the team one way or another. So I believe he's just going to focus on pro. I do think that's the right move. He's got the seat time in. You need the seat time now with the big tires.
Yep.
I think he's gotten to the point where seat time at a 255 just isn't progressing things enough. It's great. You get the extra bit here and there, but to me, just, really focus on getting the big tires under the belt. But Feddy's kind of torn that car down back to bones and redid it.
Yeah.
So it looks like there's a lot that's been upgraded on a reliability stand front, on a basically ability to swap out parts quicker. Just from what I was seeing in photos, it looks like that was their main focus of like, okay, make everything reliable, make everything in duplicate or triplicate, and make sure that we can swap it out if we need to. because that really was kind of the bane of his existence. He'd get into a small wreck, and it's a one-of-one car. Yeah. You're not borrowing parts from anybody, and it's a very complicated car to work on. So everything took a little bit longer to swap out. So yeah, I'm excited to see what he's able to do. I'll continue to request and hope that one day we see him just in a standard chassis for even go to like a fun event. Like just show me in an 8.6 or a Corvette or something. I just want to see. I just want to know. Like, is the car holding him back that much? I don't know. It's like training with a weight vest, right? Like imagine what he would be like in a standard chassis.
Yeah, and that I was going to say, you're talking about the weight vest. I was going to apply that to Rudy Hansen. He's been a heavyweight, but he's been sparring with a welterweight. And then now, so again, using the talking tires analogy here. And then, yeah, going to Federico. And we've talked about him working with Team Orange, driving Japan, all those things. It's now become part of his identity, almost like a blue beanie, like people just don't recognize him outside of a Ferrari. And like you take your hat off and he just goes incognito. Where'd he go? Where did Jacob go?
Yeah. Dude, Clark Kent, it's great, man. Those glasses go on and I disappear in the crowd. I'm not mad about it. Yeah, moving on to somebody who definitely does not disappear in the crowd. Ben Hobson won. Congrats, recently engaged. Love to see that. Super big move on his part. And taking on Ryan Littoral right off the hop with Hobson. Both drivers struggling. Ryan Littoral, it sounds like, late last year he talked about moving away from the RB. Been a little hush-hush over there to see exactly how that program's going to end up looking. And Ben Hobson, it looks like they brought that RTR back to the factory, tore it back down as they do so often, and a lot of modifications done to it. And realistically, we saw this with James Dean as well, where they put James Dean in a car that was not purposely built for him, that was more or less, like they put it together. He didn't drive amazing in it in that first year. They took it back, took all the notes, modified it, and then he won a championship. Ben Hobson, similar situation, taking a car that wasn't purpose-built, throughout the season with him. They tear it down, they rebuild it. Whether or not Ben Hobson's going to jump right into a championship, that's a big order. But I do expect to see big things out of him because now he's had an entire year of input on what that car should be. So I'm hoping a lot of the little gremlins he was dealing with in 2024 more or less disappear with the updates in the off season.
Yeah, a lot of unknowns there, and as you say, Hobson jumping in a not purpose, but I think it was just, it's not about being purpose built. It's building around him, right? We just saw Von Gittin Jr. get fitted for his seat, so just something like the details at RTR, which is unarguably top 3 programs in the world as far as drifting and even motorsports. Apply motorsports to that, just given Ford's involvement with Vaughn and Ben, and obviously 4-time champion James Dean, and then going to off-road. Jim Farley is, calling Vaughn saying, what's cooking, hot stuff? Like where do we go next? So Hobson's part of a great camp. This year he really needs to show up because I feel like he doesn't have any excuses, and maybe he's going to be riding the high of, like you say, newly engaged. Littoral, I was just with him actually earlier today, and he's cool, calm. But also I said, hey, you going back? We were in LA. He says, you going back to back home? He says, yep. And I got a thrash. So he's, it's just like it's like SEMA, down to the wire, paint's still drying. So I can imagine with Littoral, he looked slick, dude. Had a Deftones hat on, Saint Laurent glasses, Sunoco jacket. Dude, looked like he was at a press conference. We were at Accelerate. Speaking of Formula Drift, Accelerate. They put on the Driven Experience at Formula Drift. Shout out to Woody and the Accelerate team. It was a career day at Peterson. So we had a bunch of professional, people that work in the automotive industry. So Ryan was tapped, him and Zindara Kennedy. We had some words with them. So I think that's up for grabs. I think that comes down to machinery more than even the driver, because the driver, both these guys are really positive. They have very different perspectives, but I think it comes down to their machine. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. That's spot on. I really nothing to add on that one.
Brutsky.
Yeah, Brutsky is going to get a bye on that run, which, I'm sure he had a pretty decent season, all things considered, but a little bit of a breath of fresh air. What's been interesting is his development with his entire family. His son's driving is, I don't know how much you followed that, but it's been pretty wild how good his kid is. Arguably, I will say he's going to catch up to his dad in the next 2 years. Like,
Sick.
it's that good.
Good.
So very, very pumped with that. And maybe that'll give him some motivation where, you're going to have your kid hot on your heels pretty soon. You need to,
That's where
step
we're
it up a
at
little
now,
bit.
like the kids
Right,
superseding
right.
the dads, which is so great. I randomly watched Masters Inc. on my flight, most recent flight. And I was like, there was a father-son tattoo team, or they didn't team, they're going against each other. But that's kind of where we're at. And you being a father, me being a father, you want your kids to supersede us. I mean, shoot. Don't take my job, earn my job. So
Right.
I'm sure, and Dimitri seems like a loving dad. He always talks about his wife and his kids. So, dude, he would be the first to pass over the keys and be like, guess what, son?
you
Here's
go.
the pro car.
Yeah. There's definitely a point of pride when you get to do it. You kind of, you hold on to the keys a little bit. You don't let them just pull it away. You got to fight back a little bit. And be like, you earned these. Yeah, exactly. That's going to go into a battle that's just continued from Prospect from last year, which is Connor O'Sullivan, Tommy Lemaire. Massive updates to both programs. So Connor O'Sullivan signing with the U.S. Army.
Hey, U.S. Army, not Canadian Army, okay? Let me say
U.S. Army.
Okay, United States Army, baby.
There you go.
And again, we've had the United States Air Force support Formula Drift for quite some time, but I love that, coming into the fold. The livery looks cool. It's clean, simple, American flag out the side, and I'm happy to see, like you said, the perpetuation of and the continuation. The plot thickens as we go into pro,
Right,
with OZLB and TLO.
Yeah, so. it's one. I mean, that's a massive boost in a lot of ways when you've got that kind of backing. I mean, financially, a lot of support. It gives you that motivation. You're driving for something a lot bigger than just your own program. So really excited to see that. I heard rumblings of that last year that was coming together. Might make for like some fun rivalry too with him and Sorensen, which I'm pretty excited for. That could play out, a little bit later on in the season, potentially even in Long Beach. And,
Which Sorensen?
Well, I mean, both really. I mean, it'll be Brandon in pro, but I don't know. I think that'll be kind of cool to have Air Force versus Army, and maybe the Navy sponsors a car, Marines get in on a car, and it becomes, this military pseudo war between all these different drivers and their backing, armaments. So that could be pretty sweet.
And we got tanks coming out. Tanks are coming out next.
Yeah, exactly. And then Tommy Lemaire with the new Corvette. We talked about the LZ World Tour. Drove very, very well there. That car is tested. They've broken it several times. They brought it down to Florida. I got to see some testing down there as well. He's driving it like a madman. They were trying to break the car. That's what they told us. Like, we're coming in. We're going to abuse the hell out of it. We're going to do things that are going to be abusive to the car because we want it to break here. We don't want it to break in Long Beach. And I'm like, that is the way to think, man. Like, there's several weeks ahead, whereas there are some drivers who are finishing their car a day or two before they get to Long Beach. Tommy Lemaire's program has been done for a while, and they're already abusing the hell out of it. He's going to run. He's already run one full event in it. And the sound, holy hell, Jarod.
Really?
It sounds
Who was the
so
loudest
good.
car in your mind previous to that?
It's not even like, it's not even that it's loud.
Okay.
It's just, it sounds so, they spent so much time getting like the collector design in the exhaust so dialed that the firing order and the way the scavenging effect goes, that like, it almost sounds like a rotary. It's so smooth.
Wow.
So yeah, you'll know as soon as he goes out for practice, it'll be like, oh shit, like I didn't know Kyle Mohan was coming back, and you see Tommy Lemaire fire around the corner.
And I assume supercharged nitrous.
Yeah, supercharged nitrous LS, and just sounds incredible, and the car handles well. And I mean, a new Corvette. I mean, not the newest Corvette platform, but a new Corvette platform. That's, I mean, they're at the forefront of the development of it. So really, really great to see.
That's cool.
Moving on. Derek Madison finally gets a break after a pretty rough season. He gets a break in seating. So, happy to see that. Just a driver that moved into pro, I think maybe a year before he was ready to, but just put his head down and did it. And just said, you know what? This is the fastest way to learn. it's going to be a struggle, but I'm going to try. And got through the year, was rough, had a lot of things against him. And I'm hoping that pro car is now ready to go because he was kind of driving the pro spec one there for a few events and finally got things together. And now, hopefully no excuses and we can see what I truly believe he can do.
Paint's still drying, I think. He's another scenario where he did not help himself, and you talk about TLO referencing him. You got your cold Canadian winters, so those guys batten down the hatches and DMAZ is in St. Louis, so not much different as far as weather goes. So you would hope, Derek works at his sponsor's company, assuming that he's back with Fuel Lab on as far as his main sponsor. So we'd love to see Derek's, again, a very jovial, happy guy, but I think now you can only have so much fun until you get some carbon fiber and get some victories in your pit for your team. Yeah.
And then last battle of seeding, Austin Matta versus Daniel Stuckey. Excited. I am really, really excited for this. I think this is going to be one of those battles that doesn't originally get some spotlight, but we're going to come out of it being like, oh shit, this was actually really, really good. Stuckey developed one of the best looking builds I've seen in a long time from the M-Spec camp. Casey Cole, obviously, last year looked like they struggled with the chassis, some setup things. When you build something that advanced, the more you put into it, the more the chances are that something fails or creates an issue. I believe they've gotten through all those issues. I hope they've gotten through all those issues. It should still be the lightest chassis in the series. There's so many small details in that car. The heated windshield is like the pièce de résistance in my opinion. Like they have micro filament all through the windshield, so that way they can heat the windshield and make sure it never fogs. And it's like, guys, like this is a drift car. The fact that it's got a windshield, we should be excited about. So, yeah. And then Austin Matta, who's quietly crushing in pro spec for a number of years. He actually did earn his pro license before and just never acted on it, and just sat back and just consistently did well. And it looks like the stars are going to align for him this year. He's going to push for it, and this will be a really, really good battle between the two of them. They both have a lot to prove coming into it, and yeah, I can see it being a very scrappy battle, and that's what a really good way to end the beginning of seeding in my mind.
My perspective would be that Austin will do well given that it's 8 rounds, given that ideally he makes all 8. But a 4-round championship, I think, is harder to manage because every round matters, right? So, no pun intended. I think that 8 rounds will fare his style a little bit better than just 4. It's a concentrated effort. You have a little bit of waiting time. You're kind of sitting in the waiting room. What's going to happen? I think Austin being more methodical about it might temper the flame because he is a very aggressive driver, but he's just like that caged animal, that caged beast. And once you let him go, he goes. And he's very unapologetic. Right before we hit record, you're talking about neck tattoos. My man sleeved up, kitted up, fitted up, and he looks mean. But I guess what? He'll also give you a big hug if you win. And he is a very respectful gentleman of the sport and of his peers. So I think given the format of 8 rounds as opposed to concentrated 4, I think it could very well benefit him given his equipment survives attrition. The car needs to stay together. So that's that prospect to pro. There's the pro and the con. We'll see. Yeah,
he's got a lot of endurance in his career. Like he's been around for quite some time and he's done pretty well every single season. So that consistency shows me he's ready for pro. But as you said, the ability to kind of come out of his cage and be aggressive and very, very aggressive when he needs to, that is the other thing that you need in pro is like, okay, when it's time, you've got to unleash hell. And he can do it. And it's so cool to see.
Yeah.
So getting into top 32 bracket,
pre-seeded.
Pre-seeded. Yeah. So we won't go into, the open ones and who might
the
fit into there. There's
right?
so
like
many variables.
You're like, okay, James could go against this or that. We just know that James is on top.
Yeah, James is on top. He's the driver everyone's going to be trying to take down. And I think this will be a very difficult year for him to do that. Although he's doubled down, new another RTR build in Ireland, just everything just when will he stop? I don't understand. It's like, dude, you've done everything, but somehow he's still finding ways to improve. And that's just so scary, but so cool to be a part of.
Not for him.
No,
And
I
you said
know.
you've done everything. He hasn't won a 5th championship, and that's just in his
fair.
blood, man. His motivation. I got to spend a lot of time with him when Forsberg got married late last year. Congratulations to him, and hung with quite a few drivers, one of which was James, and we got to spend a lot of time and a lot of energy in what's going on with him. And as you say, building another car overseas, it's he can't sit on his hands, man. He's got to have a busy body, and it obviously is working out. He is the best drifter in the world, and I don't think anybody could bat an eye at that.
No, there's I can't think of a single argument against it.
Nope.
There's just nothing.
Nope.
Our first, battle outside of that will be Trenton Beecham and Roan Charpentier. Rome's had a busy offseason building that car for Jack. It does concern me a little bit because it is similar to what happened with Connor. It's like, I love Rome's energy of like, I want to help people. But at some point in time, you have to help yourself. And that's my only concern with Rome, is that he's going to be so focused on making sure Jack is happy and making sure that program goes well. And that's kind of what we saw with Connor as well. Like, there was a lot of focus on that. And that means that you're not focusing on your own program. Odie went through it as well with Simon. Like, when you are an owner, operator, builder, driver, and you've got somebody who's, more or less paying you for a seat or a vehicle, you got to keep them happy. They're a customer. They're helping to fund your program. That means you're going to take something away from your own. So hopefully this year things get sorted for Rome, and I'm hoping he can really, really focus on his own career. That's my only takeaway from that. And Trent Beecham, car torn down, back together. I think he's got to get out of his own head a little bit. He can drive. We've seen those moments, and it's just a matter of seeing, the Pro 2 champion that he was years and years ago. And those moments of greatness are fleeting, but when they're there, you're like, shit, dude, like, you're a contender. Like, just do this every round and you're set.
I'm looking at just his deal, and late last year he did well at Hot Pit, which is now part of Formula Drift and our whole DNA and path to get into Formula Drift. And he, like you said, he can rise to the occasion. But as recent as March 2nd, don't know how throwback those photos are, but it's not wildly stripped down, but off-season prep going down, that was posted March 2nd. So here we are, that's not too far, not too far from now, not too far from opening day of Formula Drift.
Yeah, we're not too far out.
Yeah, and RCP, he's campaigning with one of his teammates, another Pro Spec car, correct?
I believe so. I don't know a ton about that setup, but damn, just more divided focus.
The plot thickens again, just spreading out those, and that's why I think we'll get to Odie in a little bit, but we'll go through everybody and kind of just throw it out there. You're 1, 2, and 3. I don't know. I mean, you're the host. I don't know why I'm asking you. Go ahead.
No, man, I'm co-hosting this one with you. Don't worry. This is as much your show today as it is mine. So, Connor Shanahan, full focus on. FD and Drift Masters have non-overlapping schedules, so we get to see Connor Shanahan. One new build, kind of new build. They did. I don't know how much of this information is public, but that chassis started off with somebody else a while ago. That's his story to tell, not mine. But obviously heavily modified to fit what he wants to do. Same chassis, same setup that he won Drift Masters in. Very comfortable in that. We saw what he did in a vehicle that he'd never driven, with an engine he'd never driven, on the side of the car he'd never driven, and he did incredibly well. Now put him back at home. Damn, that's going to be a force to be reckoned with, that's for sure.
Just looking at the car overall, great looking car. Just aesthetically, it's got, and just stripped down, no sponsors on it as of yet. And it just looks like something that we've seen before, a vehicle that is readily available. The parts are available. We've seen it have success. And with Shanahan behind the wheel, with just a great motivation coming off of his debut Formula Drift season, he is no rookie by any means, and a lot of eyeballs are on him. I expect big things from him, but how much seat time has he had? You know, obviously it's out there. Him and Amanda are an item. They're traveling all over and seeing a lot of drifting and getting a lot of seat time, you know, independently and kind of traveling all over. So I'm interested to see how Connor fares.
Yeah, and an interesting thing to add to that, and I want to give someone their flowers. Amanda is one of the greatest marketing minds we have in drifting right now. Like, I've had some very, very deep marketing conversations with her. So if she's able to help out that part of Connor's program, like between things, you know, like merch and brand integrations, like I don't know how much they're sharing that side of things, but even if she's able to add a few % to his program, he's a superstar. And frankly, I don't think he does enough with it. So I would very much like to see what she's able to help with on that side of things. If that
I don't think she is. I think she's absolutely gatekeeping all of it and not sharing any of it with Connor. That's just how good of marketing she is. She's playing mind games with her own lover.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I've again seen Brandon, Amanda, Brandon, and even now Cam Sorensen come into the fold, and obviously their dad, Randy. He's he's created these gremlins, and just I say gremlins in the nicest way of just being a dad. Like I said, back to that. It's cool to see, and the Sorensens have played major roles in not just drifting, but off-road racing, side-by-sides, karting, all of that. I mean. Pickleball, golf for Amanda. I was like, "You're golfing now?" She's like, "I'm loving it." And I was like, "Okay, well, just, all right. I'll take you out and we'll see if you're good at it. I'm going to smoke you at it, but it's okay. And I will smoke you at pickleball too, Amanda. FYI."
Oh, damn!
I big dinker here, and when I'm talking about the pickleball move. Jacob, can you play pickleball?
I'm sure I can. I've never done it, but I have a strong rookie instinct that I'd be okay at it.
What? Yeah. It's the most passive answer ever.
Straight down the middle, man.
Guess what? You know what you need to see is Jacob's calves. So this dude can, you could pivot, brother. I have a feeling, because again, it's a small little court. It's not tennis. Yeah. It's not ping pong. It's somewhere in the middle. So I think you'd be a Jacob Pickleball Gettins out here.
Okay. All right. I think we need to just have some sort of like FD challenge, whatever it is. Another episode of Send It where we play pickleball.
Done.
So
I have a course
make it happen.
right down this humble brag at my country club. We'll go and play, and I will smoke.
All right, done.
I will smoke that Gettins, like the brisket that he serves.
All right. Damn. All right. I'm in. I'm going to start training. I'm going to start running. You're going to see me every morning. I'll be like Brian and I out running.
That's the crazy thing is like, I've played with older cats. Like I'm talking like gray hairs, and they smoke me. So it's not about your ego is not your amigo, and it's not the power. It's the grace. It's the simplicity of just, again, the dink, the doink, the tap. Oh, it's good.
All right. I was going to say, speaking of dink, but I don't think that's right. Dylan Hughes. No, he's not a dink. Oh, Dylan.
The dozer. How do you get the dink? Is that the dink? Okay.
I know.
Dylan the Dink Hughes.
Damn, I hope that doesn't stick.
It will not. That will not stick.
Good. I really like Dylan.
Who do you not like? Go ahead. Go, Jacob.
Man, I don't know if there's anybody I don't like. Somebody asked me the other day, actually.
Chris Forsberg, what a piece of crap. Gosh. That guy.
Nah. You know what's funny is like, I think the driver that's given me the most shit has actually been like Dan Briquette.
Ooh.
I think it's just because him and I are so friendly that like feels very open to like critique things that I've done over the year and offer advice. But I don't think it's actually him giving me crap. He's just such like flat line delivery on everything that you just don't know how to read it. So like, I'm like, I don't know if this is a support thing or you're tearing me down here or what's going on, but yeah.
So you're saying you don't like Rad Dan. Okay, moving on. No. Our next battle, Dylan the Dozer Hughes, and who is it again?
Open right now. Just it'll be one of the seating placements. So I think Dylan's just looking for a refresh. I know he took some frame damage in Irwindale last year. So, just a refresh of the chassis. He's chilling, he's racing bikes, he's, out on dirt bikes. He was doing like paragliding stuff. I mean, I was like, bro, like you should probably chill here. Like you got a race.
Well, do you remember he
run,
broke
man.
his hand and had to drive in Seattle and
Right.
like it was pinned. Like I get, you know, he was doing 24 hours of lemons. Like he's, you know, he's making content, baby. He's trying
He's
to
side questing like crazy, man, which I get. Like, cool, win all the awards, but man, just make sure you're focusing on the main
That's
thing.
what he came in with. You know, his dad, you know, retired
Yeah.
fireman, his brother doing backflips on the spot. Dylan's kind of the weakest link out of the Hughes boys.
Yeah, which is crazy to think, right? Like,
I'm kidding.
But no.
He's a real piece of crap. So
you just
So
say
Dylan-
you've known him since he was like this big. That's why. So
dude, I breastfed him.
Yeah.
So he's waiting to see who he's going against in the seeding. I brought up this name earlier, Hiro Manoa, making history last year,
Yeah.
the youngest ever to podium in Formula Drift history. He waits in the wings to find out who he's going against, but he finished his 4th overall last season. What are your expectations in a sophomore season?
Still good. I think there's more pressure. There's also been one rule change in regards of left foot braking that I think could affect him maybe a little disproportionately. There's obviously a lot of commentary around his driving, whether it's slow or the amount of left foot braking, that kind of thing. I do believe this rule may affect that, but I also think he's so young, he's so adaptable that if it affects him, it'll be for one round and he'll find another way. I have all faith in his ability to develop and change over the period of the season, and no matter what's thrown at him, because we've just seen it. We saw it all year last year. There was almost nobody he couldn't drive against, and did adapt his style and his technique depending on who is battling. So, yeah, there's a little bit more expectation, but there's also like a little bit pressure coming off because it's not this crazy rookie story. It's like, okay, cool. You've had your spotlight. You were this incredible rookie. Do it again.
Yeah.
Right. That's how I look at it, is like, you know, awesome year. Cool, man. We erase the board and we start fresh again. Do it again.
Yeah.
So, which I think he can. I hope he can, because, you know, nobody wants a one and done.
We talk about being dads, talking about, you know, engagement, 4-year, you know, 4th championship for James. Hero's 15 or 16 now, because he was the youngest.
I think he'd be 15. He'll turn 16 partway through the season.
There we go. I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
I forget how old I am, but just if I could be 15 again, going on 16 and have no sidetracks, you know, again, love my wife and love my kids, but I'm just saying, what a scenario for him. Like, not, you know, man, you haven't paid rent, you know, like,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, just the life happenings, you know, all signs are saying like, just drift and go crush it. And he's surrounded by greatness, including his mom, dad, all the Japanese drifters, you know, FD, Japan. Like he's nothing but opportunity.
Yeah. And when that is your main focus, like when you don't have to worry about bills or a shop or logistics or whatever, really easy to be good when your entire focus is taking out the entire grid.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I say that, but I still couldn't do it. But
Yeah.
moving into apparently the man that I critiques me the most, Chris Forsberg, Rad Dan. Good battle, solid battle. Rad Dan, I always feel like, is on the edge of greatness. Like it's just always missing something. Rule change for the Mark IV Supra that allows new drop knuckle, which will resolve some forward grip issues that car just inherently has. So, you know, no more excuses, Dan. Like they've allowed this change. Yeah,
so
no.
now
Hey, man,
you just said
Yeah.
he comes at you. You said he's going to get radder because of
Yeah.
this. So he's more Rad Dan. So he's radiator. How does Rad Dan not have a radiator company, by the way? How is it not Radiator Dan?
I don't know.
Holy
Like, or at least just a rad shop, right?
Yeah.
Like just rad repair. Even if you repair one radiator a year, I don't
Rad
care.
Dan.
You just need, you have to.
Yeah. He's moved to
yeah,
Florida. I mean, they pop radiators down there all the time. You know, I mean, you're seeing them. I mean,
yeah.
shoot,
It's a
you got your
problem.
truck back finally after 8 long years, like a Lord of the Rings film. You get your diesel back, crank a cigar. This guy moves to Florida. He's got a gator in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, there's
Rad
rads
Dan.
all over the highway. It's a
And
problem.
he's going against that other piece of crap, Chris Forsberg. Oh, God, that guy getting the win. Jacob, I'm tired of you saying that, okay? Seriously.
I
Chris
know,
Forsberg gets the win.
I've said it so many times. It's repetitive at this point. Yeah, I mean,
I love Chris. Obviously, he's a great friend of mine.
I love Chris too. I respect the hell out of everything he's done for the sport, continues doing the sport. Man, we're at this point with drivers now. There's a handful of drivers that the question starts to become like, how many years do they have left? I think
come
Chris
on,
Forsberg,
Jacob. You
no,
can't.
I'm serious.
No,
I'm serious.
This cigar comes out of mouth. New kid puking in the corner. Okay. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Chris has all these developments with Nissan. He's
Nissan has
developing.
literally never put any other name on the vehicle. Just FYI, Nissan has never put a name on a vehicle. Yeah, Nismo. Yeah, you're Nissan. Never said name Nissan. There's a Chris Forsberg edition Nissan Frontier. Just FYI.
So, at what point do all of these other things start to encroach on the FD season, where he has to make a decision of like, is my name on this vehicle because of Formula Drift or just drifting in general? How many years does he have left? I'm not saying he's going to retire at the end of the year, but like, we're at the point now where DA drivers are retiring.
Drift Alliance for those kids that just showed up. Yeah. Thank you for acknowledging.
Right. One of the OG, or the OG drifting group that entered into FD from day one. Yeah. So I look at it and go, okay, cool. Hasn't been at the top as competitive level. He's still driving very, very well, but it's not a top 3 driver consistently. Mm. At what point do you just go, okay, I'm going to focus on, retirement. I'm going to focus on, making as much money as I can, keep these brand deals going, do all my commitments there. And unfortunately, FD may have to fall by the wayside. Von Gittin is a great example of that.
Yeah.
He had to decide what was more important. He's still drifting. He's still doing what he wants to do. And maybe that's what we see from Chris Forsberg in the next couple of years. I don't want it, but it's just a realistic thing that we have to start looking at.
Well, get Chris on the podcast and talk to him.
I will. Yeah.
You had him on last year, right?
Yeah, and I mean we're at the point now we've done almost every pro driver, so we'll start cycling back through.
Okay. Yeah, and to that point, yeah, you are right. And Chris, I'm not going to divulge our conversation, but I spent a lot of time with Chris. I mean, just given that we have grown up together. I mean, I'm numbers wise older than them. Not that I'm any wiser, not that I'm any smarter, but we've shared a lot of experiences together, good, bad, and indifferent. Crying tears of joy and crying tears of sadness, and that's what I love about the family that is Formula Drift. Just reiterating that. So it's not a fair question to throw out there, but I think you go straight to the horse's mouth and ask him because he might tell you, because I mean he's still doing relevant builds, and really cool stuff. That stay tuned. But we'll see. So Rad Dan and Chris Forsberg, those guys are good friends. They'll both have smiles on their faces, and just I think the biggest thing for all the competitors is they just want a fair playground, a sandbox that they can all play in with the same tenacity, aggressiveness, and no tomfoolery. And they want to make sure that everybody is just up to snuff, and you're playing on the same. And like you said, Hero got chastised about either being left foot or slow, and you hope that he wakes up from that, or like you say, adapts. I think Chris gets, being that he is one of 2 standing veterans from day one. Ken Gucci and Chris Forsberg are the last starfighters, so be it. And I think that they could, still rise to the occasion.
Yeah, agreed. Look, you must be last minute. And if you are last minute, you don't have your tickets for Long Beach, but don't worry, I'll save you $5. Use OZLB at checkout. Save yourself $5. See you in Long Beach.
Yep.
Moving on, next driver up, the Adam LZ. So sole focus on FD this year.
Wow.
That's
as opposed
to
big. What for the fans that don't know, Adam LZ obviously one of the most popular, if not the most popular, talking analytics and numbers.
Ran Drift Masters last year. Did not originally commit to a full FD season. Drove really, really well. And yeah, I believe he was the highest ranked American driver in FD last year. Just that's saying something for a driver that was not planning on running a full season.
Totaled a car.
Completely totaled a car, had a team rebuild it in a couple of weeks, and then ship it to literally the other side of the country. I think that's a part that we forget about is that car was built in Florida and then arrived in Seattle. Like, that's not a short distance. So on top of all that, sole focus on FD. There's rumors that he might drive a Drift Masters here or there, but that's the main thing.
Well, in his own tour, obviously, which you've played a role in over last few years.
Yeah, so that's super interesting to me that another driver that's putting sole focus on one program and see what they can do there. Beautiful new trailer, all the amenities in it. Just kind of was like, hey, if I'm going to do this. I got to see it in person. Really? It's sick. It's a really nice trailer.
Really? That's kind of a flex right there. Everybody's like, dude, the car looks sick. You're like, seen the trailer?
Yeah.
You can go number 2 in it. It's that nice.
But just excited to see some movement there. We'll get into Odie's thing, but Freddie from Spectune is his crew chief who was originally with Odie. So like that move happened. There's a bunch of interesting things going on with the program that's
cool.
Like really leads me to believe like if there's going to be any year to push for that championship, he's all in on it this year. And that's, that could be scary for a lot of drivers because he's got resources, he's got the ability, he's got the backing. Like, what more can you ask for?
And he gets really hyper fixated. He just gets he gets that switch, that switch in him, like over the top the movie, he turns it around and it's like a switch, and he really gets into the minutia of where he's at, and now he's running his own program. I think he had a lot of fun, and I think he learned a lot with Vaughn Gittin Jr. It was definitely a reciprocal relationship that RTR, Vaughn, Adam, James, all of them had. Now he's taken a lot of those things, and like you said, not a full season last year. Holy cow, I'm doing really well. I should stick around. Whammo, St. Louis, and comes back, like you say, that's a great stat to pull up. Highest, Odie Bakshi's, not America, but lives in America, obviously, but
yeah.
But
I'm sure he's an American citizen now. I don't know how that all works. Never, checked the green card or whatever.
Got sworn in.
Yeah.
Got sworn in. He's not going to court, but yeah. Maybe he is. I don't know. Phone a friend.
Moving on to fan favorite, Jeff Jones. Love the guy. Yeah. Absolutely love the guy. If there's anybody due for a solid season, it is Jeff Jones. Like, he's just due. That's it. He's put in the time. He's put in the reps. The car's looking good. He's driving like crazy. He's due. I think that's the best way to put it.
And he's just really investing into drifting as he has from day one. Right. From the denim dash to the Ninja Turtle riding shotgun to the victories and accidentally cussing because he's hopped up on, what's his energy drink or his
still
drinks.
On Doc. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doc X.
Just he's infectious, man. I got to spend some time with him over the holidays. That seems like eons ago, him and his lovely wife. He invests back. Whatever he gains, he puts it back in. Hot Pit Auto Fest. Like, what a cool event that's gaining a lot of traction or losing traction because it's a drift event, but getting that license that's available to enter Formula Drift competition. Jeff really invests a lot of time, energy, and I think the payoff, the investment is worth him seeing the success that he deserves. Agreed.
Yeah, he's a great, bastion for the sport. He's just every bit of energy he's got is going back into drifting, and it's people like that are going to continue this sport long, past. Yeah, maybe even
his dogs
my
are
involvement.
Next.
Yeah,
I mean, they don't have kids, but they're going to train their dogs to drive. That's how committed Jeff Jones is.
Yeah.
Other side of the bracket, man. Here we go again. Dude. We're still waiting for some people, but finishing second, the bridesmaid.
Yeah,
Odie.
This is what I literally got chills thinking about it.
This is it.
This is the driver to watch. This is the James Dean Odie Bakshi's is going to be something I really feel like we're going to talk about all year. Sole focus on his program, everything all in on him, betting on himself. That is the scariest version of Odie Bakshi's that I can think of. Like, no distractions. I'm going to win the championship. I'm tired of being second or third. I'm doing it. And that's the mentality that I'm seeing in Odie Bakshi's. And demoing
excuses.
a lot of different
no
things.
excuses after 25. He's got, arguably one of the best spotters, his wife in the building, and she's looking at things. She's very learned. She's very learned. She is a scholar. Mother, obviously, to their children. I just dote on Amy because I just love how she handles things. She even helped us in the tower last year, as far as just managing people while Odie wasn't driving. But no excuses after 25. He's got to get it done. The bridesmaid he caught the bouquet, man. Put a ring on that thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, going as far as testing different ways to build the car to see what's going to be better, lighter, less power, smaller tire. Does that work? Like, not many drivers have that ability to just go, hey, I have 3 of basically the same car. Let's test some variables and see what's actually the best. So, yeah, that is a scary human being this season.
Let's backtrack to remember like the 1,000 horsepower LOL on his bash bar. And now, I mean, not that it was a joke. Obviously, he's trolling. And Odie as a, he's kind of a quiet, very demure gentleman. But he's quiet, but he's funny. He's very quirky. If you get a couple beers in him, it's go time. But he's got a good perspective on it. He's got so much knowledge. The suspension game is strong. He's helping a lot of people develop their programs as well. So I like you said, spreading it out. Now he's investing in himself and betting on himself. That's a great way of putting it. But he has no excuses to really put it down and be prepared.
Yeah, the separation is Odie Bakshi's is the driver we see on camera, and Aramis Bakshi's is the one behind the wheel, and they are 2 very different people. So
I love it. I love that. That's great.
Cool. Battle of the Jonathans. Jonathan Castro, Jonathan Hurst. So I haven't seen a ton. I mean, Hurst is putting his car back together. I saw a posting for his Corvette. So maybe, a bit more funding for his program. This is like his street Corvette. So I think that'll be, I mean, it sounds like he's just going to funnel that money back into the program. It's almost become an ongoing joke, but that Hurst is the scrappiest program on grid. But he's consistently pretty good and has those moments of greatness as well. Just, the funding and everything else. His driver's suit got leaked today. It still has Mr. Cool on it, so that's awesome. More jokes that we can make. Some, fodder for the commentary booth is always a good thing.
Absolutely.
And he's got a bit more time under the XLR, which is basically a Corvette, just a way cooler looking one. So a bit more time with that, and we'll see how that goes.
And Castro,
Jonathan Castro.
Kenda, I'm seeing LTH on the car. Not a lot of noise from the Castro camp.
No, not a ton. The Kenda stuff is interesting. The tires, to divert a little bit, I have heard that almost all of the tire brands have developed some sort of new compound this year. So I think the tire game is a complete toss-up. I can't even speculate as to what might be the best tire. I really don't know if we're at a point where there is a best tire. It's just the tire that works for that driver. But Kenda came in strong this year. They're backing a lot of people, a lot of support. So I think there's a lot of interest and intrigue there. Nitto, losing 2 big drivers or 2 drivers separating from it is huge news, and Kenda picking them up, and we'll get into those drivers momentarily. But just big moves from that brand. So I don't have a ton of notes on either driver other than hopefully we see some surprises when they roll up in Long Beach.
Tenacity, here they are. Just keep pushing, and we'll see what Castro brings from DR. But like I said, just while you're talking, I'm looking through social media, and he's been active in the off season. Behind the wheel, more Toyotas, doing stuff in his home country of Dominican Republic, giving back to his community, scholarships. There's some really cool things, and almost like a philanthropic side of Jonathan Castro giving back to DR, which is obviously Dominican's finest, baby. So moving on, you talk about Odie and James Dean. This is somebody who I thought in 24 is really going to put it together, and that's Matt Field. Building that C8 that really piqued a lot of people's interest, and everybody's like, "What? That's good." And he's like, "Hold on," and even before he started the build and to the public, he says, "This is not going in Formula Drift out of the gate. Like, let me work it out debuted at SEMA show, Borla Performance, and now what are your expectations from the Beast from the Bay?
I think he's got some interesting motivation. I feel like there was a lot to glean about how to build and balance a car when they were building that, because it is a rear engine. We're seeing a bit of a shift in the way that drivers balance cars out. There was the era of like moving all the weight to the edges for the pendulum effect. Then it was moving all the weight internally, and then it was 50-50. And we're even starting to see drivers adding more weight to the front to get a bit more front bite and cut down on understeer. So all that to say, Matt Field has been developing a chassis and innovating a lot of things for that. I'm hoping there's a lot of aha moments that we're able to transfer into his current build. I don't expect to see the C8 this year. I hope to see it out on grid this year. I just don't expect to. Maybe if I don't know, maybe there's a scenario in which it does. That being said, I didn't see a lot of development on this chassis. He did move shops halfway through the off season. That's a lot. That's a huge commitment. The Drift Cave 2.0, if you will, that's an operating shop. That's what funds his program. So a lot of focus on the business. I just hope that there was also focus on the program. But that being said, other than blowing, supercharger belts off, that car was great all season.
Yeah.
I don't know how you solve that issue. I really don't. If I did, I'd be selling that product. But if they can solve that, that's really the only thing stopping him.
Yeah.
He's got the driving, he's got the chops, he's got the mental fortitude. He's, doing battle ropes in the pits and jumping jacks and shit. Like, he's doing everything he can to win a championship. It just, whatever the luck factor hasn't come to fruition yet.
Yeah, he's got all the makings to take it to the top, and I really thought he was going to do it in 24. He had the 23 season coming to the way it did, down to Irwindale, and he's having more fun, but he's even more professional than ever. And just all that balance and that yin and yang is, I think, a sweet spot for Matt. Maybe he just needs a little more fire in the belly. Not saying that he doesn't. But I don't know. I'd love to call up Matt. Like, let's just FaceTime real quick. But he's that kind of guy to be like, yo, what up? And just be like, where's your head at? He's like, bro, I got it fixed. Like, everything's fine. That's him. And he's surrounded by a lot of fantastic people. The cast of characters over at the Drift Cave and the cave folk over there are
the cave people.
The cave people are conjuring up one hell of a good time, and that's just the icing on the cake would be for him to have success, and inevitably for the field camp to have a championship. They're due, for lack of a better term, but you got to earn it. You're not just giving it, so it's got to work together. I don't foresee the C8 coming out this season. I think that would be a little premature. And I don't think he would risk the car doing that, because if he brought it out there, I don't think the only people that would win are the fans for seeing it in competition. But just like you said, I remember when Tyler McCory drifted the Porsche he did the JIC Magic Porsche back in the day. And Tony Angelo said one of the funniest things. He says, prove Isaac Newton wrong because of the pendulum of the rear motor. And Tangelo, gotta love him. Oh, and he is so smart. You want to, dude? You trying to get Tony on the podcast still,
bro?
Right?
I texted him yesterday
he just texted me. He says he hates you. I'm joking.
Oh, okay,
no,
cool. No, got it. No, I've been trying. He was we were trying to get him to come to the World Tour when I was in New Jersey, so I could talk. Some of his friends were bugging him, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might just have to fly there with the podcast set up and be like, we're doing this right now. So that's my next step. But yes, very, very much want to get him on the show.
I feel like that's your sign off, like the Kimmel Matt Damon. You're like, all right, on our next podcast, Tony Angelo. Oh, we don't have enough time, so we'll see you next time, Tony Angelo. Like, that's your send off. Just fire that one up. Well, we got a special guest. Oh, looks like we ran out of time. Sorry, Tony Angelo. We'll see you at the next one.
That'd be great.
But I don't foresee the C8 in Formula Drift 25. I just don't. And prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, Matt.
Please. Yeah.
I think it'd be cool, but like I said, I I just think he's got a lot of irons in the fire. Don't know. Oh, also talking about splitting time, Odie Bakshi's, how many vehicles are the Drift Cave prepping? Because I know they've kind of bounced around, dabbled here, there, everywhere.
Yeah.
With the Drift Cave, I know they massive. The cave expanded. The cave is massive. It's not a cave anymore. That is a Coliseum, the Drift Coliseum. It's massive. He's doing car storage.
Yeah. I feel like what's the scale of holes in the ground? Is it like cave, cavern, and then like we find something bigger than that?
Yeah, a catacomb.
I know. Where's a catacomb? There you go. Where's a geologist when we need him, right?
Big stone guy. Big
rock guy. Yeah. All right. Brandon Sorensen. No good segue there. I was trying to think of one, but I couldn't do it. Brandon Sorensen. So interesting, if I can throw back to even last year, a small tidbit that Brandon brought up is that they were developing 2025's car throughout 2024.
Okay.
So as they were finding things, as they were making adjustments, as they were discovering things, they were doing that to the 2025 car as they went. They were basically using 2024 as a test to build the 2025 car.
Okay. So
I really, really think this will be the year that we see him in top 5. I can't confirm if Mike Kojima is coming back this season. Regardless, you had him for an entire year and you're building a chassis at the same time. It just, even if 50% of that knowledge made it into that chassis, it's going to be set up quite well. So if we're making predictions, I'm willing to put money down that Brandon Sorensen will be a top 5 finisher by the end of the season. Okay. And I mean like total season points, not just one event, 2 events.
Drivers points.
Yeah.
Not manufacturer, not tire. We're talking about
no.
High flying Soren, Brandon Sorensen, baby. We'll see. That's some great communique and good information. And Sorensen, they don't sleep. They don't sleep, man.
No.
They are cooking.
Yeah, Cameron pushing up, driving really well. Amanda driving really well. There's all the motivation in the world. You've got it. You have to push.
Yep.
And there's nothing stopping him this year. So that's my expectation. That's my hope, and I guess that's where I'm laying my money. I don't know how much. $5. I don't know. What do you got? Round of golf.
I'm not a betting man. I just know I'm going to smoke you a pickleball.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
All right, finishing third, Frederick Osbo, third overall in the championship. Where's his head at? Kind of quiet, lurking in the shadows, back in Norway. He's DJing. He's tiptoeing. Is it wash, rinse, repeat, or is it wash, rinse, and smash?
Man, I mean, it seemed like he did more off-season ice drifting than he's done years previous. Seemed really all in on it. The new tire will be interesting. We talked about Kenda. I think that's for Papadakis to leave Nitto is pretty massive. I don't know all the. Yeah,
do you know that they left Nitto, or did Nitto leave them?
I don't know. I really don't.
So you're kind of speculating went. Because I mean, Nitto, if you look at it, they are championship winning back to back,
right?
And Nitto were kind of the meat hooks that were putting it down. So I believe it might have been the other way around, that Nitto kind of focused and put their money on the ponies.
But do you drop a top 3 driver? Right?
Like, I mean, for the top driver. I'm right. This is complete speculation. That's why I asked. Yeah. It sounded like you knew. You're like, they left Nitto.
No, I don't see. I mean, we don't have to get into like all the financial stuff that's going on with the world right now. Once again, not a political podcast, but
How do you feel about the tariffs? I'm joking. Sorry. I know you. I love how you preface by saying that in the Sages podcast. You're like, it's not a political podcast. I want to just be like, all right. So how do you feel about the signal conversation? I'm joking.
Jared's like, it is now. Grabbing the steering wheel, baby.
Yeah.
I couldn't see Nitto dropping Osbo. Maybe it was a package deal where it's like, hey, we'd like to keep Osbo, but we're not keeping Turk, and it's one way or the other. Either way, whatever happened, for them to be on Kenda's, the rumor is Kenda's got a new compound. Really, really interesting. I've been digging. I've been hearing a lot of things. Everybody I've talked to said this will be the most competitive tire environment across the board that we've seen. So take from that what you will. I'm really interested to see what happens. We're going to know right away in Long Beach. I feel like I'm going to know within the first couple of laps of practice. So that's what I'm excited to find out and see. But other than that, man, I mean, Osbo's he's a bit of a mystery. Like, he's consistently great. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, he gets fired up. I think he's going to have, I think he will have a really cool, I think he's going to have a fun season. Like, last year, you know, just was present, but maybe not present, you know, and I think that I anticipate having a lot of fun, and he'll win before he shows up. You know, was just kind of quiet. Was kind of quiet last year, and I really do anticipate him making some noise.
Yeah,
having some fun.
If present but not present nets you a third place in the season, being present and having fun is going to make for a pretty nuts year. Yeah. So
I guess that's true, right? Like, it's
if you're casual about third, imagine when you're not casual.
but would you agree with me? Like, I feel like he was just quietly there. I mean, because a lot of it was on James Dean. Obviously, it's just like, okay, dude, like, can we have one? You know, it was just the James Dean show. It was like the James and Hero show, just given the sensationalism of that. Even you talk about Amanda and her marketing prowess, but she's first ever female. There are a lot of firsts last year. You know, first 4-time, youngest, first female. You know, all of those are sensational key points. But great point. Quietly getting third. All right.
Right.
Now let me try. You know, let me give you the old Viking try. You know?
No, I agree. Moving to Ken Gushi, Nick Novak. Gushi just ran into a lot of mechanicals last year. It really, I hate to say that. It's just, it seemed like every time I was chatting with him, it was, this really weird issue popped up. And I was like, damn, dude. Because Gushi, I mean, another just OG, another, I don't want to put him in that category, but another driver where you start to look and go, okay, how many years? There's one more driver that I'll group into that in a minute. But yeah, just Ken, like, what's the plan, man? Like, fix these gremlins. You're back in a chassis, back with an engine that you're happy with. Let's just go. Like, that's really what I want to see out of Ken Gushi is we all know how phenomenal he can be. We need to see it. And I think if we don't see it in the next year or two, we just may not see Ken Gushi. And that's really terrible to think about. But, you know, how long can you drive at mid-pack and be happy with it?
You know, I think he's his own worst enemy, but his friend. He is, you know, commiserated with himself in particular scenarios, but he always does have a smile on his face. But, you know, behind that, it's just like, yeah, you know, he is a consummate professional. He is a great Toyota ambassador. He speaks to the brand, you know, being Japanese American. Kenshiro is a lovable guy. You know, he's, you know, Sage dotes on him like a son, you know, because we have seen him grow up. And, you know, the future is, like I say jokingly, not the past. And you said, I don't want to put him in this category, but you just did.
I know.
And I'm not chastising you, but, you know, he, like you said, has had some bad luck. The gremlins are present. Just got to shake hands with the devil and really know what you have to do. He's got a cool livery. You know, at the moment of this podcast being aired, it hasn't come out just yet. But you know, working with some cool partners, back with Gretty once again. He's constantly working on cars, doing cool stuff. But what is the Formula Drift program as far as priorities? You know,
what's the plan? Like, what's like where, you know, what's the priority? What's the plan?
Yep. So, and at the end of the day, he still wants to drive. He still wants to win. Knowing Ken and just having spent time with him over the years, not as much as I would like, just living two very different lives, just down the road. I'm eager to talk to him at Long Beach. and you know, drivers meetings, be like, where you at, dude? And
Yeah.
how honest will he be with me and or you? TBD. But at the end of the day, Gucci's a ledge. He talk about history and first ever driver to win in a Ford Mustang. Fun fact,
Right?
But I put that on the heels of him being such a great Toyota ambassador. But let's see you in Long Beach, Kenshiro.
Yeah. And you know, just to preface this, he finished the season in 14th. I'm not saying like he had a disastrous season. Like that's still very admirable. And there's a lot of drivers that'd be very, very excited to be 14th. But there's another Ken we've seen, and that's the Ken I want to see again.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, Nick Novak. You know, not a bad season, not an amazing season. Would like to see a bit more aggression out of him this year. We've seen those moments. You know, Irwindale was 2 years ago with the perfect event. It's there. It's possible. It's just a matter of kind of putting everything together. I think it was a big step to go back to running his own program again after leaving Jerry Yang. It's just not easy. It's not easy to run your own program, to run your logistics. He's got a lot of help. You know, his family's very, very involved in it. But at the end of the day, it's still your program, and the buck stops with you. And some drivers do very, very well in those situations where everything is on them. But more and more, we're seeing the drivers that are doing incredibly well are the ones that just focus on driving.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that Nick is able to step away from some of those responsibilities this year, allocate those to a few different people, and then go back to just focusing on driving, because that is the best version of Nick Novak that we've seen.
You say that kind of mysteriously. What are some of the sidetracks that are occupying his time outside of driving?
I mean, just running and building out the program is the big part of it. From my perspective, like booking logistics, trying to get everything together, you know, making sure that the car is operating, figuring out, you know, crew, booking flights for crew, shit like that.
So you're
like
saying
that's all time away.
logistically more than
yeah.
Okay. I thought you were alluding to or saying that he is operating other vehicles similar to an Odie and Simon Olsen or even Drift Cave and okay.
Not
You're
that
just
I know
saying
of, but
logistically at the helm. Yeah, and you know, you talked about Forsberg. You know, everybody. When I bring businessmen that are friends of mine into this, they're like, and I'm like, every program's different. You know, here's Vaughn and here's James, here's Ryan Turk, here's Chris. Ryan Littoral compared to Nick Novak, compared to Ken Gucci. Every program is so different. And like you said, you know, seeing the Novak operate with Yang, run his own thing, this, that, the peaks and the valleys, and it's humanitarianism, just even, hey Jacob, how are you? I don't know what you exactly, unless you divulge to me what you've gone through throughout this day, could catch you at a bad time.
Right.
And just getting there, the flight, you know, we were delayed and had this and that. My race suit was lost. Those are stressors. If you have all those stressors, some people live in that and love that and thrive off of that. But if you don't, as you say, figure it out, you know, figure it out before it figures you out, and you're not going to have success. Because if that formula does not equate to success, figure it out and see what does. Because at the end of the day, you're wasting time and money. And, you know, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. But fun could be a carbon trophy and eventually a big chrome shiny one being a championship, either 1, 2, or 3. So that's why I inquire about, didn't know if Nick Novak had side quests, as you say, operating other vehicles.
Yeah, not that I know of, but no, just it's a lot. It's a lot of, you know, we've both seen and experienced what it's like to run programs, and it's just, it's not easy. It's a lot of work, and driving is only 5% of it, you know? So, but if you can make driving 80% of it, then you will be a better driver. And that's at least my perspective on it. Some may not agree with me, but hey, I got the microphone, so.
Damn, Jacob. Woo, did you hear that? Every time Jacob gets feisty, an angel gets their wings. I was going to say something else, but I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
I got the mic. Oh, what's that? It's like, love my wife. But again, how would I have driven before? I would have crashed into every single car and everything in front of me if I didn't have, look out, you got to, you know, I would have crashed into every car.
That's my favorite. the arm slap of like, I'm like, what? You don't think I see it?
The mom belt.
Yeah.
The mom belt, the arm
The mom
extending.
belt.
The mom belt.
Mom belt.
Yeah, that's what that is. Yeah, so yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's that in front of me? Oh, that's the steering wheel? Cool, because I'm driving. Bear's driving. Ryan Turk, right?
Cool. Yeah. I would say maybe the most active off-season driver when it comes to everything else other than driving. Gets the shop, love the shop. It is so that as soon as I saw that shop,
Did you go there? Have you been there already?
No, just the videos. I would love to go. But I immediately like flash back to like very young Ryan Turk, like drifting his driveway, like episodes of Turk. That shop, it would make teenage Ryan Turk or 20-year-old Ryan Turk so excited. And that's like, you could see it on his face that like young Ryan Turk, not that he's old, but like young Ryan Turk came out. Because it's like,
implied.
Look at this. Like it's kind of like it's kind of older, like it's got this older vibe to it, like it's kind of vintage, like it's like got this skater punk vibe to it, like that, like the live free or die tattoo started glowing off his chest. Like that's the view that I got from it. And everything that he's doing now with developing his own brand, developing his own parts, gets me very excited, but also in a way makes me kind of sad. I alluded to this before. I put this down as the last driver in my grouping of drivers that I could see transitioning out of FD in the next, let's say, 5 years.
That's a long time. I mean,
I know. I wanted to put it down to 3, but that's still like, that makes me so sad. I didn't want to like put it into the
are
universe.
you crying? I mean,
Little
for those
bit,
that,
dude.
For those
I mean-
that can't, I mean, no, it's if he leaves, it's like, hey, brother, go get him. Whatever it
Yeah.
is, that could be being a dad. That was Vaughn's big pivot. Was he wanted to be
Right.
around his kids and he wanted to multitask. Chris and his lovely wife Liz are not going to have kids. Ryan Turk's got their in his shanty pants. They have Roman, and I mean, yeah, dude's out there drifting electric NASCARs, by the way, and the Stout and the Celica and building Turktown. He's basically got the race service of the East. Like you said, is kind of
That's a good way of putting it, actually.
yeah. I'm not going to take claim, but I was just at race service, and they're like, "Dude, see Turk's shop? It's like the race service of the East." I was like, "Hell yeah!" So that Celica is badass, by the way.
Oh, dude, it's wild, and it feels very much like he's leading up to the end game, and that's the part that makes
Dude,
me.
you are
I'm excited.
You are planting some serious landmines. You said 5 years, by the way.
I know. But we've seen this before. And like it's just pattern recognition for me, where you see a driver really leaning in on themselves, leaning in on their personal branding, building income streams that can make money for them in their sleep, right? When you develop parts, when you do things like that, that is a way of making money that you don't have to have your hands on. You're not, he doesn't need to physically be there to make that money, which is great. That is a very smart move, but it just has those signs to me.
Well, speaking of 5 and speaking of quitting, my computer is at 5%, so I'm going to go plug it in real quick.
Okay,
great segue.
We'll take a pause.
Take a pause. Hold on.
Yeah, we'll take a pause.
Baby, we're back. Baby, you could blame it all on me. Nick Novak is back in Formula Drift. Nick Novak.
D. Formula D.
Yep.
You had a rhyme perfect. It was just right there, but it's okay.
What did I say?
You said Nick Novak.
Baby, come back.
Baby,
come back.
You had a rhyme going.
Yeah.
Anyways. Ryan Turk. I hate to say that. I don't know. But I also think, that being said, if that is the case, if I'm on to something here, which I may not be, might be completely out to lunch, and he's going to develop like a 5-car team and become like a driver, owner, operator. I don't know. That being said, if that is his plan, talk about the final motivation to leave a champion, because he is one of the greats that have never won a championship. Like there are a few, and he is definitely head of the class in my opinion. So
Hampshire man. Like you talked about his like live free or die tattoo just glowing like just like superhero.
Right.
He's got the kid, he's got the wife, he's got the shop. This kid's got it all. I mean, look at this guy. He's from New Hampshire. He does his thing. He comes out here in this little 5-door hatchback, and you know that variable of changing to that higher horsepower. Don't know if that was a solution. Maybe you needed the high wound up hamsters to keep that 4-cylinder banger. Switching over to that the Supra power plant. Was that the move? Did they chop it up too much? Did it compromise? Because obviously that hatchback was successful with Frederick Oswald behind the wheel and with Turk behind the wheel. We saw some victory. You know, as you say, maybe the swan song, maybe the fat guy sings, myself included. You know, just I don't foresee it. Like you said, 5 years, TBD. Shoot, I might be out here in 5 years. The whole world might be out here in 5 years. Let's be quite honest. It's not a political show, but let's talk about global warming. Anyways. We got to keep it lighthearted, man, because at the end of the day, we're doing sideways burnouts, putting smiles on faces, 8 rounds a year, and 2025 is going to deliver. But there's one more driver that we need to talk about, and he is going solo like Han Solo. No Star Wars here. We're talking about that of Scando Wars. Simon Olsen.
Simon Olsen. So it is confirmed he is back in the Supra. Is it the right move or not? We won't know until... I mean, we won't know until...
You're pretty close to Simon. I feel like you guys are like pen pals. You guys literally write physically. I feel like you have a feather quill that you write letters to him in a calligraphy standard.
I would put Simon down as like your Chris Forsberg.
That's why I said
like,
that.
That's it. He's one of the drivers I'm probably the closest with. You know, chat with him pretty regularly. The Supra, I mean, when he told me he was going back in the Supra, I was like, bro, really? But what I will say,
bro, really? Okay. Well, that is honest Jake right there. Honest Jake, everybody. Coming live. Really, bro? You sure about that? You sure about that? I did my part. I didn't do shit. Anyways.
But a couple of things with this. One, I don't know how much public knowledge the team that he's building is. What I will say, the crew that he's surrounded himself with is like kind of like handpicked some of the best builders and team from around FD into this like super group, which is super cool to see. That chassis has been developed significantly further than when he debuted it. There's a lot of changes that are being made to it. And Simon is also a very different driver than when he started in that chassis. Even being in a completely different chassis, the things that he learned driving for Audi can't be unlearned. So is he going to be as competitive as he was in the S chassis of Audi right away? I don't think so. Will he be more competitive than how he was in the Supra? 100%. Okay. So I give it 2 years before he's back in that like top 5 fighting for a championship. Because like we forget that at one point he was fighting for a championship when he was on Audi's team. There was real conversation. We were doing the math. There was actually a points potential that he could have won a championship in Irwindale. Now, everything had to go perfect, but it could have happened. There was a chance. You tell me there's a chance. So
perfect for him, but lackluster for other drivers, that was the Freddie year, right? Or James. No, it was James. It was 23, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 23.
Yeah.
Yeah, him, James, Matt, all that.
I'm really interested to see what they change in that car. I'm hoping I'm there I think I'm actually flying in and I'll be there for their tech inspection because I'll just stand there and over Kevin Wells' shoulder the whole time to understand what they've changed in it.
You're talking about coming into Long Beach.
Yeah. I plan on being the creepy guy at tech inspection, just like asking all the questions. I actually enjoy the hell out of doing that.
Well, that's kind of what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's Kevin's job, not mine. Kevin's making sure they're legal. I'm asking like,
always watching, Giddens. Always watching.
So that's my thought, my brutally honest thought on Simon Olsen for this year. The team has everything. The chassis should have everything. Simon's got everything. But that chassis has been notoriously difficult to master. Realistically, Frederick Osbo is the only driver in my mind to master that chassis. And we're talking about one of the greatest of all time.
Yep.
So it's just a tough chassis.
Yeah, he's tamed the dragon. He is the mother of dragon, Steph Papadakis. Harnessing the hatchback, the 86, he's he's done some amazing things over the years. So yeah, I am interested to see what Simon Olsen can do with getting back behind the wheel of the Supra.
Yeah. So it'll be great either way. But yeah, we'll more or less have to see.
Yeah, exciting times, man. Round 1, and it just kicks off at the most unforgiving track. Excited to get back in the box with you, and looking forward to some exciting things, man. Some great battles. It's a long-winded one, but you could kind of fast forward as you go through. And since we're at the end of it, later.
I do want to provide an honorable mention. I actually screwed this up last year, where we talked about drivers that were not competing. I do think it's worth saying. I don't want to dote on it, but I do want to provide drivers that we're not going to see this season at least a bit of spotlight. So I do have a list, which sounds terrible, but so Kazuya Taguchi, Taylor Hall, Alec Robbins, Diego Higa, Robert Thorne, Kyle Mohan. That one hurts a bit. Forrest Wang, Mike Power, Joao Barillon, and Dean Carney. So those are the drivers that we will not be seeing in pro this year. Some of them going down to pro spec, some of them taking some time off to focus on other things. So,
yep.
And I mean, you could kind of add Luke Fink in there, the driver that hasn't yet. Not never was, hasn't yet.
What, hasn't dropped out?
Well, I mean, he didn't make it to FD yet. He has yet to bring a car to Long Beach. So I can't really say like, he never was.
Right.
It's just, I think it's, I had a chat with him, and it sounds like it's all gears forward to next season.
Okay.
So yeah, he released a pretty good video explaining what happened. A lot of weird logistical things with New Zealand and trying to get like parts there for the company that's building the car. And
New Zealand or Australia? it's operated in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and apparently New Zealand customs are notoriously difficult. So regardless, not showing up sucks. I was very excited for that. We actually had a day planned to record a podcast, and then he kind of went silent on me for a week or two, and I went, ooh, shit.
Yeah.
And then I texted him again. He's like, yeah, it's not happening. I was like, oh. And then the video dropped. So
it's better to happen now than halfway through.
100%.
100%. DK,
100%.
Darren Kelly, it did a half season and new motor, and then half season got cut short. Another, international, not an Aussie, but a Kiwi. And I'd rather know up front. Luke is definitely for lack of a term, brash. He's very opinionated, and that's healthy. He's spent some time with him. One at Keep It Rate, even previous to that, or no, after that. Excuse me. Saw him in his home country of Australia. Saw him in St. Louis. My bad. Driving a Mustang, and that was solid trolling on the RTR camp.
So good.
Yeah, but it was a right-hand drive, and James Dean couldn't be there, so that was fun. Hobson and him and Vaughn. Exciting season, man.
Yeah.
Here we are doing it
Very
again.
exciting.
Looking forward to getting into the minutia of what you've experienced. It's all about perspective. What's really cool about all this is drifting has created a lifestyle and livelihoods, and it is what you make of it. Whatever you invest into it, don't give to get, but gosh darn it, drifting keeps on giving. So that's fans, and haters are fans in denial in itself. So I think that Jacob, you bring a wealth of knowledge and enthusiasm that, I try to harness, your energy, and I like nerding out just in a different way. You say, oh, it's nerd stuff. I'm like, FYI, nerd's not a bad thing anymore. And I just nerd out in a different way. And I just bring sensationalism in a different way. and I have a lot of fun. I'm really proud of where Formula Drift is at. And I have two, kids from my loins, Parker and Tyson. But at the end of the day, I have a lot of kids that I care about, and each in different ways. I don't have a favorite kid. I can name one. I'm joking. But but at the end of the day, it's good competition creates a good show, and a good show creates good fans. And we have some of the best fans in motorsports. They're loyal to the soil, and they want to see that. So I'm looking forward to it, Jacob. Thanks for all that you do and have done in the off season, and eager to see how the season begins at round 1.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and thank you, again, and I'm stoked that we're going to be doing this for a while together, which is pretty sick. And I'm very much looking forward to getting back in the booth. I'm looking forward to our little rituals and just some of the fun behind the scenes. I do wish that we can't make it public, but I do wish that people could understand how much fun that booth is, because it's you and I mean, I would argue the most fun is when that button gets clicked and then you and I start chatting, and then it's like, countdown into it, and it's like, okay, let's go. And 2025 is going to be an epic season. I'm hoping this preview gets everybody as excited as I've been, as you are, and as everyone should be, because I mean, we didn't even talk about the last round. That shit's wild. Yeah. But they're going to be launching that. I mean, if you're listening to this is the Wednesday before Long Beach. Tune in, because we're going to be dropping what is going on for round 8, and I am pumped on that. Yeah. So I got to see the layout, and I'm like, ooh, shit. It's going to make for some epic photos.
Absolutely.
I know I go back to my media days.
And we got a lot of cool festivities going on. I got invited to a Larry Chen book thing. We got the Type S thing Thursday night at Queen Mary. I did a collab beer with a brewery called Ism Brewing called Send It Long Beach. It's an XPA, Damn. So I will give you some of that. That's unhinged for your diet. I know you're all about the meat sweats, but I'll give you a six pack. And all
right,
but Pike Bar, and then obviously game day, baby. And the forecast is looking promising. It could be cold, it could be windy, it could be hot. Long Beach, you can never tack it down, and it ceases to amaze me on what can go down, and that's why people believe that. Dude, Formula Drift is scripted.
Dude, if it is, I haven't seen it. That's for sure. No one sent it to me, so
yeah.
But sick, dude. Thanks again. I will see you in a couple of days. I'm very excited for that. For everybody listening and watching, thank you so much for the support. We have a pretty nuts season coming up. We're going to be doing all the podium stuff once again. We've already got a couple episodes that are recorded. Just showing how the sausage is made. Been in contact with a lot of ex-drivers as well. We're going to be doing a lot more of those, and diving even deeper with spotters and crew chiefs, and it's going to be a good season across the board. So stay tuned.